Welcome back to Lessons That We Can Learn from Lord of the Rings, where we use the practice of Lecter Davina to understand how the Lord of the Rings can show us and teach us different things that we can grow on and be better people. So let's get into chapter 1. We are finally officially through with it. I had to reread it about 4 times. Compared to the 2 times that I went and reread the foreword and the prologue. This one, the theme of it is connections, and I chose this one because there is a lot going on when introducing the ways of how the people of the Shire communicate with each other, and just how everything is related to Bilbo in starting these events and building up something that becomes spectacular and remembered for not just 90 days, but more than 9 months, more than years to come from the events that took place at his party. We are first introduced to the happenings of what's going on in the Shire via Samwise's dad, the old gaffer as he is called, who is the former gardener of Bag End before he handed that off to his son, Samwise Gamgee, aka Frodo's bestie. And he is either confirming some rumors that have happened or dispelling other rumors that are accumulating and retelling stories and things that people absolutely love to rehear, as hobbits love to have the same story, the very predictable story, told to them several times over from different voices, even if they already know what happens, and then speculate on the actual outcome of the happenings. It isn't really until the arrival of Gandalf that things really start to kick off. It becomes a flurry of activity from carts and carts of things coming into town, as well as there is a lot of letters going out throughout the entire Shire, which bogs up the post office, and they even have to outsource some help to be able to deliver all of the letters that go out to everyone. So as you can see, there is already a lot of connections going on, from what is connecting people to the rumors, what rumors are connected to Bilbo, what is actually happening and told by people who are in the know, who are directly connected to Bilbo, and then the spurring of events of everything that is happening in the Shire in general, and just how it all comes together into this spectacular thing that the entire Shire shows up for. Even people who weren't directly invited or who happened to be missed end up showing up. And one of the things that people are excited about is being able to have the connection of the birthday presents. So instead of giving out birthday presents, giving birthday presents to the birthday person, presents actually go to the guests that show up, which I think is a very interesting way of saying thank you for coming and celebrating me. And you even have people who are so excited about all of the gift giving. Hobbits end up circling around for a round 2 of gifts. Bilbo's 11th birthday becomes one of the biggest events of the whole Shire. But Bilbo actually ends up not addressing the entire Shire. He only ends up addressing the relations that are closest to him. So that is a 144, which is 1 gross by Hobbit standards, which Hobbits actually find that to be quite rude. And when Bilbo mentions that, he offends pretty much everyone. Bilbo's most scandalous thing that he does, aside from disappearing, is saying, "I don't know half of you as well as I think I should like, and I like less than half of you as well as you deserve." What I find interesting about this specifically is Bilbo is not only insulting his guests in this almost backhanded compliment, but he's also apologizing at the same time for not being as open as he would like to be, almost apologizing for what he is about to do, even though nobody has no idea what he is apologizing for. Even Frodo is puzzled by this, especially as Bilbo talks about Frodo coming into his inheritance. And he leaves off with a big flashbang, cutting off his ties and connection to everybody by saying this very grandiose goodbye in a very dramatic and confusing way for everyone, so that way he is not forgotten. Before he leaves, Gandalf comes and checks in on him to give his own final goodbyes and make sure that Bilbo is really giving up on everything, letting go of all of his worldly possessions, including the ring. This is where Bilbo struggles to let go of his connection to things in general, is the ring. One is the ring has kind of possession on his mind, and you can see how much it has dug its proverbial claws into Bilbo through how Bilbo ends up calling the ring his precious, and this kind of maliceness comes over him. And you can see that this is one way that the ring has built a in-depth, like, parasitic connection to Bilbo, even though Bilbo has no idea that this is happening. He only knows that something is wrong, and he just needs to take a journey, an adventure, to get away from this thing that is weighing on him. And it takes the relationship and the trust that Bilbo and Gandalf has built to be able to let go of the ring, to sever that connection in favor of being free and kindness and just the care that they have for each other. Bilbo even suggests that Gandalf takes it, but Gandalf doesn't want to have the connection to the ring in that way, for how he has seen what has done to his dear friend, who in many ways should still stay innocent, still stay open and generous and kind. Like, if that comes over Bilbo is an unusual thing to happen, and even Frodo mentions that he comes to try and see if he could see Bilbo off, but is ultimately not able to, because Bilbo has left before anybody could see him. Going quietly into the night makes me kind of think of that Robert Frost poem where it says don't go quietly into the night, but here he chooses to leave that way. He is free. He is let go of all of those connections that he has had. In that flurry of confusion, he has set up things so that Frodo, it becomes the heir of his estate and inherits the confusing, fluttering mess that the Shire can be as people come to get their parting gifts. Merry, being a true friend, has stepped in to help Frodo navigate all the confusing mess that was left to him. Many of the Shire come to try and see if the rumors that we are introduced at the beginning of the chapter are true, which of course some of them are not, and ends up destroying part of the Hobbit hole, specifically the pantry, for whatever reason, as nobody is able to find that tunnel of gold, because there is no tunnel of gold in Bag End. As you can see, there was a lot to digest in this chapter. I even had to make myself a little flow chart of like who is connected to who, and even had to draw a little zigzag of how Bilbo is severing his connection with the Shire in general, and how that comes to play in this space. The last remaining connection that Frodo has to Bilbo is the ring, and you only see a moment of that connection in this chapter as he fiddles with it while dealing with all of the parting gifts that everybody is giving away. And it doesn't even directly mention the ring. It only mentions that Frodo has his hand in his pocket, much like Bilbo has his hand in his pocket throughout the chapter as he is saying his goodbyes. Now that leaves us, what is our takeaway from this story, this chapter? For me, I think it is the idea of celebration, and that there are more people who are willing to celebrate me than even I can imagine. As I have just recently had a birthday and had a wonderful birthday party where so many more people agreed to say yes than I could have initially imagined, filling my home with over 20 people, and that was just the short list of people that I wanted to invite to my birthday party. It became a really big and joyous event, and it just shows that we have more of an effect on the world than we think we do. Actions that we take, the big and the small, have ways to ripple outward. Just think of how the rumors start in this chapter, where it starts out like something small of there's a rumor that a big birthday party is going to happen, and not a whole lot of people know about it, but if enough have told the story and spread it around, that it becomes a bigger and bigger and bigger event until it takes over the entire Shire. So there are ways that we can act and do things in meaningful ways that have bigger effects than we could have ever imagined, even if it starts out as something small. We can even see this in how the ring is a small thing, but it will have such a large and bigger event, and that is to come. We know this is happening, but if you have never read the books, you don't know that this is happening. Even though it is referenced of how much this small thing has had an effect on Bilbo and later on Frodo. Another takeaway that we can see is sometimes it is important to let go of connections to have peace of mind. So you see Bilbo building up into his grand goodbye, and then he even has to have this smaller, more intimate, heart-wrenching goodbye with Gandalf and the ring, where he has to unburden himself with something that he has been connected to for a long time, so that he can really truly be free. With that being said, the big takeaway is, what connections have you made, both big and small, that have a greater effect in the world than you initially imagined it would? And two, what are things that you need to let go of to be free, to really be able to have a weight, a burden lifted off of you? Thank you so much for joining us, and next time we will be going over chapter 2, called The Shadow of the Past, where our theme is going to be knowing. I was thinking of it being understanding, but I feel like knowing is a better way of getting the point across of what's happening in chapter 2.